Imagine two underwater cities. Up near the surface, the sunlit atoll runs on automated currents and abundant energy. But drop a few thousand meters down to the abyssal trench, and you find a society scraping by, harvesting algae by hand just to survive. Measuring the gap between these two worlds requires looking beyond the total income of the reefs. A high top-line number can easily hide severe inequality or a lack of basic services. This is where the Human Development Index comes in. It treats prosperity as a composite of three equal pillars that must scale up together: income, healthcare, and education. Which raises a difficult question. Why do some societies naturally glide upward toward prosperity, while others remain caught in a downward pull? Economic success is rarely just a matter of which reef has the most natural resources. Instead, it's determined by the feedback loops that govern how a society manages what it already has. Down in the abyssal trench, the daily harvest is so low that the inhabitants must consume everything they gather immediately. Their savings ratio, the portion of income put away for the future, is zero. We see this in the real world when households live in absolute poverty. When every cent is required for daily survival, saving money isn't a choice, it's a mathematical impossibility. By contrast, the sunlit atoll generates a surplus. Because households easily meet their daily needs, they deposit their leftover income into banks, creating a pool of funds that financial institutions can lend to firms. Borrowed savings allow a society to build physical capital. They finance the construction of industrial ports, factories, and heavy machinery, which changes what the economy is capable of producing. Without that initial pool of savings, a society cannot afford the equipment needed to make its workers more productive. They remain stuck in a cycle of low-yield manual labor. When an economy lacks modern machinery, the workforce is tied up in the primary sector, manually extracting raw materials like crops. Once capital equipment takes over these tasks, labor is freed to move into the tertiary sector. This allows a society to shift its focus toward providing services, including the development of specialized schools and hospitals. World Bank estimates suggest that for countries at a low level of development, investment in primary education offers the highest return on growth. Literacy is the foundation that allows workers to move from following physical patterns to understanding technical instructions. Preventative healthcare adds to this by increasing life expectancy. A worker who stays healthy avoids preventable death and has a much longer time to apply their skills to the economy. This combination of health and education builds human capital. It acts as a multiplier. An educated, healthy individual can extract significantly more value from the physical machinery around them than a worker who has neither. Rapid population growth creates a high dependency ratio, visible in the heavy-bottomed shape of this population pyramid. This forces a small percentage of active workers to support a massive population of children. Resources meant for long-term investment are instead consumed by their basic needs. When the few individuals who manage to gain an education migrate to wealthier nations for better pay, the struggling economy loses its most talented workers. Because these educations were often funded by the government, the poorer nation has effectively used its limited public resources to build human capital for a country that is already wealthy. The struggling economy pays the cost of training, while the rich economy reaps the increase in productivity. Economists call this the vicious circle of poverty. Low income leads to low saving, preventing the investment needed to increase productivity. Since the loop is self-reinforcing, escaping via internal savings is a massive hurdle. It constantly pulls the economy downward. Breaking the cycle often requires outside capital, like foreign direct investment, to build the initial infrastructure. At the same time, aggressive policies to provide free primary education can help build the local skills needed to manage that investment. True economic development is a long-term trade. It requires a society to sacrifice a portion of today's consumption to build the physical and human capital of tomorrow.